Hello, today's video is about my sweet potato crop. This year I grew two varieties of sweet potato. The Beauregard, which is an orange tuber that I grow most years, and I also grew one given to me by Uta. It was a white sweet potato with a purplish centre that I hadn't grown before. I put the plants in the ground in October, even though it was frosty and they're a bit frost tender, but I protected them by the broadbean plants, and that did provide plenty of protection from the frost, but the slugs and snails ate most of them. So then I put a second batch in after the frosts had finished in November. This particular photograph was taken early December, and this is one of the Beauregard plants. It has a heart-shaped leaf. Sweet potato needs a lot of sun over a long growing period, so I tend to grow them over arches because when it grows on the ground, the leaves can't really access the sun, mainly because I plant flowers and other plants in the garden bed as well as the sweet potato. These leaves belong to the white sweet potato plant, and you can see that they're a little bit more pointy. They have 5 lobes and pointy leaves. This photograph shows the garden from a different angle. Where the arrow is pointing is where the sweet potato vines are over the arches, and the yacons are to the right of that. In previous years, I'd grown 1 row of sweet potato, 1 row of yacon, 1 row of sweet potato, 1 row of yacon, and so on, and I found that the yacons shadowed the sweet potato, and the sweet potato crop was very small sweet potatoes and very few of them. So this year I planted the sweet potato to the sunny side of the yacons to avoid that problem. I like to grow a variety of different plants in the garden bed as a way of minimising pests and making it look beautiful, but the flowers did take over a lot, and I think that they shaded the sweet potato crop. By April I'd had enough of the jungle that was growing in there. I probably could have left the sweet potato a bit longer, but I wanted to get the next season crop going too. So I decided to harvest the sweet potatoes on the 20th of April. And so first of all, I cleared all of the vines so that I could access the sweet potato. Looked a little bit like a massacre, but there it is after I'd cut the sweet potato vines and put them into the compost. Most of the tubers were underground. There was one of the Beauregard sitting above the ground. That's okay, it was healthy enough. And when digging the sweet potatoes, it's a good idea to get the fork quite a distance from where you think the sweet potato is, so that you don't pierce the sweet potato as you dig it. So here's an example of one of the sweet potatoes that I was pleased with the outcome. I didn't pierce the tuber at all. I try as much as possible to follow a no-dig gardening method, but then I grow crops like sweet potato and yacon, and I really undo all of that. Now here's an example of how not to harvest sweet potatoes. There was a few times where I stuck the fork in the tuber as well. Most of the sweet potatoes that I dug up were Beauregard. It's a heavy cropping, beautiful, sweet tasting sweet potato. I only actually got 4 white sweet potatoes out of that crop. The Beauregard tubers grow very close to the plant itself, whereas the white sweet potato, I noticed the tubers had travelled a foot or 2 before they actually grew. So there's a couple of the white sweet potato there, and they were about 30 to 60 centimetres away from that red arrow that you can see there. So who knows if there's more somewhere underground. The combined weight of both varieties was 14.5 kilograms. Then I cured the sweet potato, which toughens the skin and helps them keep a bit longer, and also helps convert the starches to sugar. So that means keeping them in a warm, moist environment. I put them into a Woolworths cold bag. The curing process takes a couple of weeks, and I wanted to know what they tasted like now. So I took a purple sweet potato and an orange sweet potato that I had pierced and cut cross sections to see what they looked like, and then cooked them up. Bit ashamed to say that I had more than one sweet potato that I had pierced with the fork. I air fried them. Nick and I both preferred the white purple sweet potato when it's air fried. It was crunchy on the outside. They both tasted nice and sweet. And then I baked them. I'm not sure which I prefer. They were both nice. The Beauregard was more moist, a little bit towards the pumpkin side, and the white purple one had a drier texture, a bit more towards baked potato type texture, but both really nice. So onto the propagation ready for next year. This is how I propagate the sweet potato so that I don't have to purchase them. Some people get slips from the tuber itself, but I like to take cuttings of the vine and overwinter them. So I just get some vine, I cut the leaves off, leave a couple of leaves on the top, then shorten it so that there's only about 3 nodes left, and put them into the water and keep that water all winter. This is what it looks like after about 6 weeks. The roots have grown quite long. I'll probably need to trim them over winter because they'll get so long and matted, and I keep this in the shade. It looks like the leaves have a little bit of red spider mite, so I'll need to deal with that. The lessons I learned from this year's crop were not to be in too much of a rush to plant them out before the frost. They grow just fine if I wait until partway through November before planting them. The white sweet potato, I might actually try to grow in some contained area to keep them a little bit closer to the plant and prevent me from piercing the potatoes when I'm digging them up. And I think also I won't plant as much flowers around the base. It really did become a bit jungle-like. Thank you for watching and sharing my journey.